JHK here in Shenzhen with the head coach of City Kickboxing, Eugene. What's going on, Eugene?
Hi, how's it going?
Good, man. There's a lot of big matchups coming up at UFC 243. Is that card, do you consider that card the biggest card in Anzac history?
I think so. Yeah, there's been a few big cards down our ways, but I think just because of the Anzac involvement, because you got the Australian and the Kiwi, and then the Nigerian and the Kiwi, and then obviously all the way through the rest of the card, you got a lot of Anzac participation. I think it's going to be definitely the biggest card that we've ever had down under for a long time, and if not, the biggest ever so far. Yeah.
What's the impact on City Kickboxing, the gym itself?
Well, I arrived in China today. I just left the gym, and when I left the gym, it was crazy. Like, it was pumping. The last sparring we had was on Monday. I had 70 guys sparring in a space that could probably only just fit 50. So, the gym's really full. All the professionals are in. That same weekend, we have a number of other professionals fighting in Melbourne on smaller shows. So the atmosphere around the gym is phenomenal at the moment. Yeah.
Do you have guys coming from all around the world, or is it mostly guys that are in New Zealand?
I get a lot of emails from people from overseas, and I'm very honest about how we train and what's required of them, and it's a long way to come. To get all the way down to our little corner of the earth you have to be really dedicated, and if you spend all this time to come over and be a part of the team, then you've got to be very serious. So I make that pretty loud and clear, and to be honest, that scares a lot of people off. It's like a filtering process I have. But we do get a few guys that make it through that process that come through, and so far, touch wood, they've all been great guys, top guys, which is the number one thing. By far more important than how good a fighter they are or what their record is that they're just good people. That's how you'll come in and be a great member of the team and get on with everybody else, and that's how you get the most out of City Kickboxing if you're coming from the outside in. Yeah.
When you got so many high-level guys, right, in your gym fighting on big cards, how do you keep the egos in check as a head coach?
Yeah, as a head coach, I don't know if I was the beginning of this, but at the moment, the way things are now, I don't have to do too much. They all keep each other in check. If someone's acting up, or someone's showing a little bit of attitude, or someone's showing a bad attitude, or someone's missing training. At the moment, the team is so tight at the moment, such a tight knit group, and they know each other so well that they keep themselves in check. So they're their own checks and balances at the moment. I'm trying to think if it was always that way, but maybe that comes from me, but maybe it comes from the other coaches as well, and myself, and maybe the way that I came through when I was fighting. Yeah, so I don't have to do too much of that. They look after themselves. They keep themselves in check. Yeah.
You said you have about 70 guys in there, right?
Yeah.
And girls. Who is the next wave of City Kickboxing fighters?
Man, I have some great young fighters. Obviously, the guys that are on the cusp right now are guys that are well known in our area, and they'll be well known to all you guys soon. But obviously, Brad Riddell is a top prospect in our part of the world, and I have another guy, Carlos Olberg, who's another prospect, but only in the early stages of his MMA career, but looking really good, looking like he has all the talent and attitude to go to the sky's his limits. Then I have another whole lot of other guys like DJ Blaine, John Vaki, the younger Vaki brothers, not familiar names to the worldwide audience, but in Australasia, very good guys. And I have in terms of talent and attitude and skill, I have like a massive group of guys that I can call upon. It's just how they conduct themselves from this point onwards, like how they embrace the lifestyle and which directions their life takes and how the sport treats them. Everybody knows that when you get into the UFC or you get into a high level promotion, sometimes there's also a little bit of luck that has to go your way as well. So I have a big stable of guys and some guys that will definitely become superstars apart from the ones I've got already.
Alright, let's move on to the biggest card, UFC 243. It's coming up in about a month or so. Let's talk about the main event first. Whittaker versus Adesanya. Now, when you look at the training Israel has been going through for this fight, has it been any different?
It hasn't been any different. It's the same. Like what we're doing now has been developed over a decade, and Israel's been with me for a long time now. So what he's doing now has been developed over such a long period of time, and it constantly gets refined. But it doesn't take a sharp left turn or a sharp right turn. Like it's going to be the same. It's because you don't fix what's not broke. So, of course, there's little refinements we're trying to make all the time because we're trying to. At the moment, we're right on the, we're at the cusp of the top end. And we're trying to stay there, and the only way to do that is to never be satisfied with where we're at. So we're trying to constantly refine everything. So, for the most part, it hasn't really been any different. Like we've just gone through the same routine we always do, the same video analysis, breaking the fighter down the same ways. Our periodization, like how we teach the fighter, when we put certain strategy and tactics into place, at what point in the camp. Is that something my gym does better than anybody else? That stayed the same. We're using a lot of the stuff that we've just refined over years and keeping it the same, and obviously adding the specific stuff for Robert Whittaker. So my answer to that is not a hell of a lot has changed.
When you look at the last fight, versus Kelvin Gastelum, what did he take from that fight, and implement it into this fight coming up?
Well, the main thing he took of it was kind of a mental edge that he gained in that fight. Because let's be honest, in all the fights that I've seen Israel fight, including all of his kickboxing career and his MMA career, no one's ever hit him that much. And you can look at that and you can go, oh, well, that's nothing to take away. That's not a positive to take away. Well, you're right, it's not a positive to take away, but he weathered the storm. He went through some adversity that he's never gone before. For someone so late in their career to experience the adversity so late in their career, because normally you would have already experienced that, there was always that question mark of how he would deal with it. And he dealt with it perfectly, like you want a fighter to deal with that sort of adversity. He got hurt, he came back, things weren't going his way, he came back. He had to change his strategy several times, and he came back, and even though it's late in his career, supposedly, to see that now and to have some of those questions answered, I think that has been quite valuable for him to take into the future. But in terms of the Gastelum fight and some of the strategic and tactical mistakes that we made, they're long behind us now. We did that within 24 hours of that fight. We figured out exactly what was wrong and exactly what we were already going over it in the hotel room, what we needed to do to fix it. So that was dealt with immediately, and now, we've completely dealt with any technical mistakes or errors in judgment that we made.
Yeah, this is a big fight. Everybody's making their predictions, and they're saying this reason, Israel's going to win for this reason. Robert Whittaker is going to win. For you, what kind of fight do you foresee?
To be honest, I see Israel controlling the fight. I see Israel controlling and dictating where the fight goes. One, maybe not to that point, but one common theme I've seen with all the opponents is the same rhetoric, and it's that they won't acknowledge what's in front of them. They won't acknowledge the skill set. They always downplay it. Not one of Israel's opponents we've acknowledged every single time how good they are at what they do, and we've picked them apart and we've figured out that opponent's really good. Robert's entered into the same rhetoric as all the other opponents, and downplaying what Israel is and how good he is. And that's fine. Maybe that's what you've got to do to boost your confidence. But I'll be worried about when an opponent comes through and it starts acknowledging what Israel is, his strengths. That's when I'll start to worry. But unfortunately, Robert hasn't done that, and I see that as very important, part of many of Israel's opponents' detriment. But I see Israel just controlling the fight with his range and with his speed and with his generalship of where he wants the fight to be and where he wants Robert to be in relation to him at all times. And that's one thing Israel's the best at, being acutely aware of what's going on. Perhaps the least successful fight where he wasn't quite able to control the opponent and where the opponent goes was the last one. And that's kind of the challenge that that's going to come into this fight, is are we able to do a better job of controlling the opponent and where the opponent moves and stands and what the opponent does in this fight. That's our challenge.
The other fight is, Dan Hooker and Iaquinta. A lot of people say that this fight could be an easy one for Dan, because he's fought guys similar to, Al. Do you I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but do you see this fight, Dan having the advantages?
There's some advantages there that Dan has, but there's also some advantages that Iaquinta has as well. Iaquinta's he's a superb fighter, very dangerous, and he's a guy that, if he chooses to, he can mix into his wrestling into his striking just as good as anyone in the UFC. And that's always dangerous when you have someone like that. There's not everybody that has that ability to do that, as well as Iaquinta and a few other people. So there's advantages both ways. Again, my job, my team's job, and what my team's so good at is we figure out what our advantages are. We figure out what his advantages are. We do as best job as we can to take his advantages away, and then to exacerbate our advantages and make our advantages come to the fore. So I know I'm being very general, but obviously I can't get too specific, but that's what my team has become the best at. Figuring out what our advantages are and making sure we're using them to the best of our ability. Yeah.
Another guy that has become part of your team is Alex Volkanovski, and he's rumored to be fighting Max Holloway in December. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, again, I think Alex talking about how he brings something completely different that Max hasn't seen, I think is still very relevant in this conversation. I think Frankie wasn't able to show what Alex is going to be able to show Max. Whether that's because Frankie didn't happen to be in Frankie's strategy, or Frankie's might be a little bit physically past pushing or pressing that sort of a wrestling fight to Max. But I think that question's still out there for Max to answer. Can he deal with someone who can mix their striking and their wrestling together so well and make you worry about being shot underneath and a right hand and a left hook and a body shot, coming out with a high kick, or dropping him for a single leg or double leg, or pushing you against the cage? Someone who's able to disguise those things so well and make them all look the same. I think that question's still there to be answered, and I think Alex is the one that can push Max. I'm confident that if we come up with the right strategy, that Alex can do his part physically and with the skills that he has to beat Max. Alex will be in camp helping the boys. I think this week or next week. So that guy obviously is the guy that always trains all year regardless. So a little bit early to start training for that fight. He'll be he'll be starting to at least get into the groove again for the 243 camp, helping the boys out.
One last question. Having so many guys, in title fights, big fights, spread across, different promotions, does it almost feel for yourself, surreal?
Yep, 100%. We, excuse me. Funny enough, I've been quoted as saying this before, but in the back of my mind when I opened a gym, and I knew that we could do it. I knew we had the talent. I had, I was in the gym fighting and wrestling all these local guys for most of my career, and I just knew that we could take guys to the highest level. And I just didn't know when that would happen. I didn't know what the process would be. Would it take 10 years? Would it take 20 years? Would it be in my lifetime? Luckily enough, it's happened to be in my lifetime, and I'm very privileged to be a part of this. And I look at my other coaches and the group of coaches that I've assembled, and they are some of the best coaches in the world, unheralded. No one knows them, but that's what's so good about them, is that all that knowledge, all that intellectual property is all ours, and it's a very shrouded in mystery, if you like. That's what I love about it. But I knew that me and those guys and the talent in my country could soar to the top of the world, and I just didn't know when it would happen. Lucky enough, it's happened within my lifetime, and I look at people like Andre and my other coaches, and we look at each other all the time after a big fight, and we just smile at each other, we just smile going, can you believe this? Can you believe this shit? This is unreal. You never would have thought. So yeah, we pinch ourselves all the time. We are very privileged to be in this position.
Alright, thanks for your time, Eugene.
No worries. Thank you. Awesome.